Come on, bud. We are live at the Working Fans Combatcast. That's right. Come on. I want you to work, you bitch. And there's some technical fun here. We're going to get started. But first, are you a fan of pro wrestling, comedy, and combat sports? Then we have the podcast for you because we cover that and much, much more.
Do you like to debate with your friends? Do we have the perfect segment for you? It's the 531. Where we take any given subject, break it down to a top 5. From there, we debate it down to 3, and then into that number 1 spot.
If you want to get a hold of us, find us on our social medias. Search Working Fans Podcast on any major social media platform. And if you want to find the podcast, search for us on any major podcast platform, as well as YouTube.
Working Fans Podcast. We put in the work so you don't have to.
All right, guys, it's that time again. We're going to talk some combat sports from this past weekend, talk a little home Vera coming up this weekend. But first, Chevy, let's tell them what we got coming up, and we know what's coming up now.
Yes, we do. We finally figured out what we're doing next week. Next week, May 28th, we're going to do an MMA Jeopardy show for you guys. So tune in for that. Might be a shit show, might not be. Hopefully it's not. It'll be fun, though. So June 4th, we're going to be back to previewing UFC Fight Night Volkov versus Rosenstruck. And then June 11th, big UFC card, UFC 275, Teixeira versus Prochazka.
Oh, okay.
Yuri. I don't actually know how to pronounce his last name, but just call him Yuri.
He's going to be your champion, probably.
Yeah, the champ, though. We'll call him that after that. But.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Got some good fights coming up as always. So, yeah, excited about doing some Jeopardy next week. Also, just a little programming note for any of our wrestling fans tuning in this. Or Randy, I know you listen to all of our shit. You're always in the comments. And
hell yeah, shout out Randy Oscar.
Shout out Randy Oscar or Cage My IQ too. Guys, we will be, if you're in the Norwich area, at Pistol Pete's this weekend. It will be me, AJ Strangebrew, producer Joe, and it's going to be a big wrestling show there. A lot of former legends going to be there, signing autographs like Bob Backlund, Gangrel. I'm sure Chevy knows about Gangrel.
Well, I know Bob Backlund.
Yes, Bob Backlund too. Yeah. And there'll be a lot of top independent stars too there, like Davey Richards, the Lucha House Party, Lince Dorado, the guy who was known as Kalisto before. So a lot of top talent will be in that area. Serpentico, who's been on AEW Dark. So names have been on WWE, AEW, legends, up and coming indie stars, top indie stars, and most importantly, your boys will be out there. So check us out, support us. And yeah, man, let's get into a few notes before we talk about this past weekend's fight night. One, I got to see a boxing match over the weekend. Jamil Charlo defeated this guy's record here, Brian Castano, who was like, they were both champions, like at 154 pounds. And this essentially was to unify all the 154-pound belts. And their first meeting was a draw, which is just a rematch. So it was an automatic rematch, great pace. And Charlo KO'd him in the 10th round. So good back and forth fight. So good win. A little boxing on Showtime. And then speaking of Showtime, little Bellator notes here. Logan Storley won the interim welterweight title from MVP in a split decision. Chevy was telling me off air that Scott Coker had tweeted out that you shouldn't win a title or something like that, but laying and praying, I believe.
Yeah, he doesn't believe that you should be able to win by just holding onto guys and laying on top of them. So,
and I mean, I get it. I didn't see all of this fight, but Storley, I saw that post-match interview, and he said, hey, for people booing me, he said MVP, he said, is one of the most complex strikers. He's extremely awkward. There's no way to prepare for him. And I did what I had to do to win. And, it is what it is.
Those are the rules of the sport that we all love and watch, So
Yeah.
it's MVP's job to be able to, to counter that. Now, I get what Scott Coker is saying. Wrestling's really not that marketable. That is the problem, to casual fans. They want to see striking. Obviously, I mean, I'm not a casual fan. I wouldn't classify myself as that.
Mhm.
I would prefer to see striking, but I can appreciate all the grappling and stuff. But I get where he's coming from. As a business, it's hard to sell, straight up wrestling.
Just two other notes. Fabian Edwards, the brother of Leon Edwards, he KO'd Leona Machida. I think he's like the number 4, number 3 guy in Bellator as it was going in this fight. So he's at middleweight. So good for Fabian. The Edward bros, they can fight. So
yeah, I wouldn't want to have grown up in that household.
No. And Paul Daly in his retirement fight knocked out a Wendell. I don't know how to say this last guy's last name, Wikamo. But it was a fight where basically I saw some of it was Paul was transitioning. He was on his back a few times, but when Paul got up, finally on his feet, round 2, KO'd him, and Paul Daly going out with a win. And this crowd was in London, England, and they were on fire for this, by the way.
Right. So. Can't ask for a better retirement at that point.
Absolutely not. Now, we'll get to this past UFC's weekend's card. Me and you disagreed with a lot of these. You came up mostly on top. I know I got the Caitlyn fight right, but I think that's where it disappeared. So I think we both got. I think this is the one we actually agreed on. The first one we got with Jake Hadley. He ended up losing a unanimous decision to Alan Nascimento. Hadley went in this fight 8-0. But Nascimento, who in his corner was
Charles Oliveira. Yeah. I didn't know that. Now, when you go back and you were talking about all of those grappling titles that this guy has won, that makes a lot more sense now.
And he looked good.
Right. Might have changed my pick at that point, but he looked great for sure. Yeah. Got to see him against a little bit higher level talent, but he looked very dangerous.
Yeah, and Randy asked this question: any underrated fighters this year so far? I don't know if this is underrated, but Alan Nascimento, I mean, he might be a guy that was under the radar, and that was a real complete performance against an undefeated fighter. So we'll see how he does going forward. So
right. There's 100 underrated fighters in this fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we move on to the next one, I just want to shout out Michael Johnson, who he fought in the prelims. He was struggling in the UFC, and he got a nice KO in the second round, and he was pretty hyped after the fight. So shout out to Michael Johnson. And
Randy just asked you what your favorite prelim fight was. So
that would be the one.
Yeah, for sure. Manuel Torres defeated Frank Camacho. TKO. This is one we thought might go decision. Torres getting the win. Tough break for Camacho, who came in ready to fight. I didn't want to pull something out. I was just thinking about it right now. What were your thoughts on this fight here?
Yeah, Frank's he's been around the game a long time. He hasn't been in the octagon. I think it was a 2-year hiatus. So he came back and he didn't want to engage in wars, which were ending in him getting knocked out. So he fought more technical for sure. But it is a fight, and ultimately he still ended up getting knocked out. So tough break for him. But yeah. I don't think it's a big hit on him. I think Torres just looked phenomenal. So I think it was a tough matchup all around.
Frank said on his Instagram, there was a clip of him and Torres training in the back there after the fight, doing a little thing. And he said, I guess after his post-fight, he had mentioned how this fight with Torres made him a better person and a better father. And
always great to see stuff like that.
Yeah, and he elaborated a little more, and I'll just give a little bit of it here. He said, and you're asking me why. He said, I had a great camp, came far out, trained my ass off, got in phenomenal shape, made the weight, had like I said, again, he said, I had a great camp, left my family for over 6 weeks, yet fell short again. He said, I'm a better man and I can be a better father for these lessons. I will pass on to them no matter what you do in your life. Always give it 100% effort and never be afraid to fail, even if it's under the lights of an ESPN show. We can never control the results, but we can always control our effort, our mindset, and our heart towards the goal. What a journey. So hats off to Frank Camacho.
Respect to that guy for sure. 100%.
Absolutely. Caitlin Chukagian got a split decision over Amanda Ribas. This was I didn't actually get to tune in yet, but basically Scott from Voluntown, one of our boys, he said this was one of his favorite Kate Chukagian Chukagian, thank you. Fights. And basically, I heard people on Twitter saying this is like one of the most exciting fights that they had. She got the win, and she was moving, and she put on a good pace from what I heard.
Yeah, this was on me. You were talking about our fight picks. Why I would ever pick against Chukagian in a decision against anyone other than Valentina. I don't know why I thought that, but I thought that Ribas had the right game plan going in to get inside and not, Caitlin's front kicks to the body are what really win her fight. She manages distance well, and then she throws 1-2s, and that's like her whole thing. But Ribas was getting inside and exchanging. These exchanges were like heavy exchanges, so I think ultimately she just got a little bit worn out. Caitlin did what she needed to do, and she did well on the ground. So she's, I don't know, next up to get ravaged by Valentina again, I guess. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
They got fight tonight. Hey, Valentina, I don't know. I mean,
she's
maybe
due for a loss.
Maybe she
like
needs
Nunes.
Maybe she needs to make the winner of Nunes and Pena. And if Pena gets a win, especially, I would say she has to win over Pena. So make that fight. But we'll see what happens.
I think you're right. If there was a time for her to go up, it would be after this fight. After that rematch between Nunes.
But I can't say that Pena is going to beat Nunes either. So, I mean, if they don't want to make this fight.
Either way. I
like
she should go up and fight the winner of that.
I agree. After, by the way, this Caitlin Chukagian and Amanda Ribas fight was fighting tonight as well. So good for them.
It's a good fight.
Davey Grant versus Louis Smoka. I wanted Smoka, come back. You were a big Smoka fan as well, but you said Davey Grant would pull it off. He did. KO punches round 3. What you think?
I think it was the leg kicks, obviously, that really set this up. It was a back and forth fight. It was a good fight. I was a little bit surprised that this didn't get fight of the night, to be honest with you. Both guys were hurt at different times in the fight, but ultimately it was those leg kicks that hurt Smoka, and then Grant finished him with punches, obviously. So super hyped afterwards. Bisping was hyped for him on the commentary table. So great fight all along. I don't think that Smoka's stock goes down too much because his calf was compromised early in that fight, and he fought through it around 3. So good on him.
Also, we talked about Manuel Torres getting the win with Frank Camacho. He got a bonus of the night as well, and I bring that up because our next competitor got the win. You picked him as well, despite being Cage Time like you, both thinking that Cutelaba was going to win. Ryan Spann, but with a guillotine choke right here. Round 1, 2 minutes, 22 seconds in. He gets it done. Were you surprised how it came about?
I shouldn't be, just because of his record. He has so many submissions, but seems to me that he hurts guys on the feet, and then that creates opportunities for these submissions, which he jumps on and capitalizes on very well. And that's basically what happened in this scenario. He engaged him in the striking, which ended up in a clinch, which ended up in a guillotine submission for Ryan Spann. So good on him.
Good on him. Ryan Spann, light heavyweight, moving on. And then we got the main event. John Blachowicz, former UFC light heavyweight champion, taking on Alexander Rakic. I always mess that up. Which was a back and forth fight, but then basically, TKO, knee injury. Jan basically had been working that leg too, and he gets the victory, moves on. What were your thoughts on this?
Right, the commentary team was talking about this, but it was basically a fight of leg kicks. Rakic was throwing his leg kicks and they were landing, but Jan was checking them. So, when you throw a leg kick and it gets checked, it actually hurts you more than it would hurt your opponent. So, those weakened his leg, and then Jan was also landing, and Rakic wasn't checking Jan's leg kick. So, I don't know if that ultimately ended in the torn ACL that Rakic ended up with, but it's possible that it was a contributing factor. Obviously, that's a bummer for him. I did read today that he has torn or come back from torn ACLs on his left knee twice. So this is the first one on his right knee. So he knows what he's in for. He's positive that he's going to come back. With technology and the UFC's help, I'm sure we'll see him back, maybe a year out or so. But it's a bummer for him for sure. He's still young, relatively young, but great for Jan. We'll see who he's getting. I assume he gets a title shot next. We'll find out, next week who that will be against, but
Especially if Glover loses, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And Glover already said that he would fight Jan again if he wins the belt. So, I thought the fight was 1-1 going into that third round, but Jan had that eye injury from the first round. I think was affecting him a lot. So who knows if that would have made a difference further on, but we got what we got. Also, just a side note, UFC, I don't need to see that ligament snapping in slow motion multiple times. As a person that's had knee injuries before, that grossed me out so bad. I don't need to see that. You could just be, that's a real-time photo injury. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about these companies that like to do that shit over and over again, but
gives me goosebumps. Right,
years ago, me and AJ were watching the Chris Benoit DVD, which of course,
the legend,
and this is before. Obviously, I was like,
I hope so.
Yeah, but they had put a tribute DVD out to him at one point to his career, and he had this neck injury. No, actually, he gave this neck injury. The one of the guys gave me Pistol Pete, Sabu.
Was it from his finishing move? His finishing move was real bad on necks, right?
But he basically picked this guy up, like they would call a flapjack, where you guy would kind of land face. But this guy landed and spiked on his head. Ooh. And I remember watching it with AJ, and he was like, "Shit!" He's like, He's like, "Please don't show that again." It was a DVD. And except for he not only slowed it, he broke it down.
Yeah, the teleprompter comes out,
like the John
He's throwing arrows and shit.
Yeah. And I was like, you did not get your wish. So I mean, companies have been doing this for a while. I don't know. It's just one of those things. Yeah.
The UFC won't show a guy unconscious on the ground for more than 2 seconds, but they'll show this dude's career, possibly career-ending knee injury 5 times in slow motion. But
we don't know if that motherfucker unconscious is really dead or not.
Yeah, exactly. That's Ferguson. Last weekend, Ferguson. I didn't know if he was going to get up from that kick. But yeah. So.
But
I don't know. It's cringy. Makes me cringe thinking about it. But
now this weekend, home Vera first fight. I got Paulina Viana. She's 12-4, 4 KOs, 8 subs. So her wins don't go decision. It would appear.
The Eric Anders fight isn't on the main card.
It is.
Oh, okay.
I have it right after this.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay. Yeah, we have maybe different.
Different bout orders. Yeah.
Okay. So and Tabafaricci. Yeah, Tabafaricci is 6-1, 1 KO, 2 decisions, 3 subs. I might have that backwards actually. She's 1-1 in UFC. And Viana is basically, like I said, she's 12-4, 4 KOs, 8 subs. Former Jungle Fight strawweight champion. Performance in the night in her last fight against Maori Martin. I don't know. Just looking at these two records, it looks like Polyana has a little more experience here. And I would think that would be the difference maker. She seems like she likes to bring it, have a finish one way or the other. So I'm going to say Polyana will go second round sub. She seems to like subs.
Yeah, her last two fights are wins by armbar. So I'm gonna go with Polyana second round sub as well. Probably armbar.
And she likes the subs. We like to bring it. These next two guys, I'm expecting them to bring it too. Your boy Eric Anders versus Park Jung Young.
The Iron Turtle is his nickname.
Jung Young Park, brother. Yeah.
Yep, Jung Young Park, the Iron Turtle is a great nickname.
Oh my goodness! Wow, the Iron Turtle. All right, well, the Iron Turtle is 13-5, 5 KOs, 3 subs, 5 decisions. He's had a fight of the night one time. Former Yaowawa FC middleweight championship. Eric Anders, 14-6-1, 8 KOs, 1 subs, 5 decisions. Performance of the night twice. These guys are probably going to bring it. Eric Anders, I feel like maybe has been in too many wars, though. Sometimes I'm a little skeptical of him. So I'm smelling upset. I don't know if it is an upset with the Iron Turtle. You got me excited to see that, use that name now. And I'll say the Iron Turtle is going to get this done. I'll say another sub, and I'll say maybe a little later, round 3, when Anders tends to get a little tired sometimes because he loves to bring it.
Yep. I'm right there with you when it comes to Eric Anders. He has super exciting fights, but I do believe they may have worn on him at this point. He also, played college football at, I believe it was like Alabama or something like that. So he's been taking hits his entire life. And those add up for, not great health. So I'm going to go with the Iron Turtle, but I'm going to go with I think they're going to get in, like you said, an exciting fight. I think it's going to be a firefight, and the Iron Turtle clips him. I'm going to say second round KO.
Okay. And then these two, I swear they just like to give me names here that are.
Yeah, this one's tough. When I was previewing this card, when I was doing notes for this, I was like, oh, Dave's going to love this one.
Oh, yeah. Dusko
Todorovic, maybe?
Todorovic. Yeah. Sounds like a car. I'm trying to be funny, but
Todorovic.
I need Todorovic. That shit. Anyway, 11-2, 7 KOs, 3 subs, 1 decision. He's a 2-2 UFC record. Coming off the Contender Series. Performance of the night one time. And he's taken on Chindi Njokian.
I think you don't pronounce the J. I'm not sure though.
Okay. Chidi. So Chidi.
I think it's Nukunai. Chidi.
Well,
because his name is Chidi Bang Bang. That's his nickname. So
it's
definitely Chidi.
Chidi Bang. Okay, so Chidi is 21-7. 13 KOs, 1 sub, 7 decisions, 1-0 in UFC. He had a win on the Contender Series right before that, too. And he's got a 5-3 Bellator record.
Yeah.
This guy's been fighting for a while. He also had an LFA, RFA. Like, he has been, all the regional promotions and been around.
He has wins over, these are just big name wins. So he has Melvin Guillard, Max Griffin, Alan Joban, and he has a win over Andre Fiejo, who fought last weekend in the UFC, who has a pretty good UFC record so far too. So he's been around the block.
Yeah, and he's got a couple wins. So I'm thinking, the guy's fighting better right now. I think he's on a 2-fight win streak. He's got all this experience, so I don't know. I want to go with Chidi, and I'll say this one's a decision, though. I think it's going to be a tough fight.
Chitty won that so he has one UFC fight, right? He won that debut in 16 seconds. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering if he's gonna get UFC jitters in this fight. Usually most people get those out in the first fight, but if it's 16 seconds, do you really get them out? But then
Right.
also this guy's been around the block forever. So I'm gonna go with Chitty. I'm gonna say he knocks out Todorovic. I'm gonna say first round knockout, but not 16 seconds in. Probably somewhere near the end of the first round.
We'll still see.
I just want to shout out to Randy Ozka in the comment section. Am I going to the wrestling show this weekend? I will probably not be there. Yeah. There is a slim chance I'll be there, but I probably won't be there.
Yeah, he might if everything lines up, he could be there to help us out with some stuff earlier on in the day. We shall see, and but we'll work that out as we get closer. But yes, keeping on with this show, we got Santiago Ponzinibbio, 28-5, 15 KOs, 6 subs, 7 decisions. That's a record right there. That's been around. Yeah, he's got fight of the night twice against Lorenz Larkin, Miguel Baeza, performance of the night twice, Gunnar Nelson, Neil Magny, and then he's fighting.
That's bullshit. Yeah. I poked Gunnar Nelson before I knocked him out.
That's true. He's fighting Michel Pereira. Talk about your records too. 27, 11, and 2, 10 KOs, 7 subs, 10 decisions. He's got 2 performances of the night and a fight of the night. This is going to be a banger, I have a feeling. I think these guys will absolutely bring it. I think Ponzinibbio, I wonder, much like I said with Anders, if the wars are starting to take up on him. Pereira is an exciting fighter. I don't see him slowing down yet. I think Pereira's going to get this done. I'll say second round TKO.
It's funny, last week we were very much not on the same page, and we seem to be on the same page for all these fights. So Ponzinibbio hasn't looked super great. He took 2 years off where he didn't have fights. I don't know if it was an injury thing or a COVID thing or whatever, but he hasn't looked super great since he came back. I think he's only won 1 of his 3 fights since coming back. And Pereira, he's super crazy and wild, and he does all sorts of weird shit in the octagon, but he has toned it down a little bit recently, and he's won his last 4 fights doing that. So he's not, gassing himself out in the first round doing backflips and shit. So I'm going to go with Pereira also. I'm going to say this fight goes to decision, though.
We'll see. I mean,
on paper, this is fight of the night.
Yeah. I think they're both going to bring it, and that's why I think someone will probably end up going down. But yeah, we'll see. And then main event, Caitlin Vieira. She's 12-2, 2 KOs, 6 subs, 4 decisions. She's 6-2 in the UFC, so most of her fights have been in the UFC, by the way. And she's coming off her biggest win over Miesha Tate. And Holly Holm, what can you say? 14-5, 8 KOs, 6 decisions, and so many fucking boxing titles that I didn't even want to take the time to list them. She is a boxing legend. Of course, she defeated Ronda Rousey for the Bantamweight Championship. She's had fight of the night against Rousey and Chris Cyborg. She's had performances of the night against Rousey and Betch Kahira. This is a real good test for Vieira coming off that Tate win, and it's a really good chance for her actually to get a big win under her belt. Because to have that Tate win and then have a home win too, just to have those 2 names back to back would be big for her. Home is always just a funny, or she's like, she can stop you, but she can also be in these kind of boring fights from time to time, and she's also weird in the sense like she'll lose, but she's always like she wins one, and she's always seems to be like 1 or 2 wins away from like getting into the title contention.
Yep.
I think this is definitely a crossroads. I think she really needs this win here to keep her name. Otherwise, I know she's talked about boxing possibly again too, and there's some names out there that interest her. I think that's where we're headed. I think Vieira coming off this Tate victory. If you look at that 6-2 UFC record and the fact she's 12-2 and most of her fights on there, I think she's starting to hit her stride. And I say Vieira gets it done. I'd love to tell you it's going to be in a finish and it's going to be an exciting fight. But damn, that's just so hard to say when it gets Holly Holm. I'm going to go 5-round decision. And good luck to people staying up. They're going to be watching this. I'll be at Pistol Pete's.
All right. So for this one, I think you're right. When it comes to Holly Holm, sometimes she's KOing girls and sometimes she has boring fights. And I attribute that to stylistic matchups.
Yeah.
She's such a counter puncher, counter question mark kicker, that's her signature move. But I think that Caitlin Vieira's style is going to work with that because she's going to come forward and be aggressive. With that being said, she's super tough. I don't know. I know MMA math doesn't really work, but Vieira's losses, she's lost to Giannis Kunitskaya and Irene Aldana recently. And I just think that Holly Holm is much better than those girls, especially striking-wise. So I'm going to go with Holly Holm via KO, but I think round 5. I think Caitlin's going to have to get tired beforehand.
Okay. Well, I think that would be an exciting conclusion. We'll see. I'll ask a couple questions from Randy here real quick. Holly Holm, a one-hit wonder? No, I mean, you can't really just say that because, I mean, besides, like there's a couple fights that could have gone her way too. What was
that Doreen Durandame for the featherweight, inauguration belt or whatever. She should have won that fight via disqualification, as far as I'm concerned. But
and she still arguably,
and it was a close fight. Yeah.
And she's had some other victories too.
And she knocked out Betch Correa, so she should be in the UFC forever. Pay her all the money.
So and I mean, and this is her combat sports resume too. All those boxing titles, stuff like that, and then to win the UFC ban, it's incredible. So I can't insult Holly Holm, and I don't even know, but I don't think she's a one-hit wonder. She's still doing it too. She's still up there. She's still main eventing.
Right, she's fighting, top 5 girls all the time. So
yeah. That being said, the other question was, does Tony Ferguson fight again? Absolutely. I think the reaction from Dana White and the reaction from Tony and Michael, everybody came out of this like Tony was looking really good and then just got caught. So I think we definitely at least see Tony one more time in the UFC, maybe more. We'll see what his next fight looks like. But yeah, I think for sure we're going to see Tony again in the UFC.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I read something about how he wanted to go back up to 170 to fight. He didn't like the way he was looking at 155. He also was looking for a proper MMA team to train with because I'm pretty sure he just trained by himself, kicking poles and running hills and shit. So I think a team might be able to talk him into staying at 155 also. But yeah, either way, I don't think this will be his last fight. He looked great until he got clipped with that, random front kick from Chandler, which you don't train for that because he never does it. So.
All right. And guys, next week, again, Chevy's about to tell us what we're doing. And for you guys in the comments, Randy, we're looking at you. Jeopardy next week, MMA Jeopardy. I guess you can shout out answers in the comments. We might not. We'll try our best not to cheat, but we'll see what happens.
We'll try not to cheat. But before we move on to that, I just want to shout out a prelim fight we didn't talk about. Parker Porter. He fights out of Hartford, Connecticut. Local guy around here. He's fighting Haltion Almeida. So Almeida's on a 10-fight win streak, but this is only his second UFC fight. Porter's gone 3-4 in the UFC, so I'm going to go with Porter by decision based on biases due to his location, really. So shout out to Parker Porter. But all right, schedule next week. We're going to do heads up, Randy. We're doing an MMA Jeopardy show we're going to put together. So this will we're going to try this. We'll see how it goes. You might see it again in the future if it goes well. So we're looking for reactions. And then on June 4th, UFC Fight Night, Volkov versus Rosenstruck. And then later on in the month, June 11th, we're looking at previewing UFC 275 Teixeira versus Prochaska. Yuri.
All right, folks. So that being said, so we got some good, exciting things coming up. Check us out again at Pistol Pete's this weekend in Norwich if you're in the area. And we'll be there selling T-shirts along with some of your favorite wrestlers.
The T-shirts look like this.
Check us out. Yeah, we'll look like that. And who knows? We might have some other surprises for you too. We're working on some things. So we'll keep you updated during the week. Check out our social media, and we'll be doing an episode Friday, me and AJ as always, and I'm sure we'll have more to talk about. But all right, guys, thank you for always tuning in, and we'll see you at